folks, are we ready? And then we get checked in. Can we, if someone's in the back and they push the performance lighting for us? All right, so we have, who's that? Today we have an incredible controversy. Do we have a wonderful time with Samara yesterday? Was that incredible? I know we all left feeling very inspired, you know, to think that she was sitting in this room, you know, as a teaching assistant, 2018, and now there's not a single person who plays this. You know, she's playing every major stage in the world right now. That's pretty incredible. Pretty incredible. And it can happen. I was just talking to some students here. You're in the room with, you know, the next leaders of this music. Somebody's here. A couple of you are here. You know, these relationships last forever. You know how long I've known this gentleman? Since I was your age. I'm serious. You're going to know these people for the rest of your lives if you've been part of this music. So think about that as we relate to one another, when we're playing together, when we're having lunch together, all these things. These are, invest in the folks that are in this room. If you haven't gotten to know somebody yet, make sure you got a day and a half left. Make sure to reach out. Say, hey, I don't know, what's your name? I don't know, we haven't played together. Let's play a blues. You know, and one thing I wanted to address is, for my jammers at 5 o'clock, I want to see some vocalists in there. And to my instrumentalists, it's time to reach out and make sure that they get in on that jam session. Okay? Can we do that today? Yes. Yes, and make sure we have some vocalists singing in the jam session. And not just one or two. There's a whole bunch of them that can get involved, okay? And so let's make sure that we get them involved, singing and a part of the playing. A couple of people I want to recognize. We have two very important friends in the house today that have been longtime supporters of Jazz House and have, you know, made sure that this program is continuing to move forward. And I want to kind of give a big round of applause to Debbie and Vince Anderson for all that they've done for the Jazz House. They're coming to my classes, and we're just so thankful for all that they've done for us. You know, they are musicians and music educators as well, and to have people that want to give back to this community is we're just so appreciative. So thank you so much, and to many more years, hopefully working together. So today we have one of the giants of this music, and also we have a special day actually in many ways. First of all, I want to take a minute to acknowledge, you know, we have the pleasure of having one of the great bass players in the world, right, as our artistic director. But we also have one of the great bass players in the world as our bass teacher. And there's very few people on this planet that have played with the folks that this guy has played with, like Elvin Jones, Billy Joe Jones, Hank Mobley, Chet Baker. Like that's who's teaching the bass class every single day. So I want to give a big round of applause. So on bass today, Mr. Andy McKee. You know, a couple of years ago, I reached out to my dear old friend, Mr. Jerome Jennings, and asked him to come and start teaching history here. As there's, you know, not many folks that I think can really explain this history and give it the cultural context that it deserves. And as you're going to hear today, he's an incredible drummer. I'm so proud of what he's been communicating to all of you through the years, the last several years. I think it's improved our program greatly. Can we put this together behind me? We got to turn it off, let's just turn it up. But he really has made a huge impact, and I'm just thrilled to see all of you be learning the real thing. And there's a reason why we don't call it jazz history. It's called history and culture, because this music is a culture. It is about people. It's about the people before. It's about the people who are here now. And it's about where you all will be with this music and how it relates to other people and relates to the world. So can we give a big round of applause to Joy and Sam? And lastly, our guest today, it is our goal that we bring as many of the innovators of this music to you. What does it mean to innovate? It means the first person to do something, to someone that creates, someone that has pushed the needle forward in their craft and made everyone else have to deal with their contributions to this music. And we've had the pleasure of having Mr. Rufus Reed here last year. We've had the pleasure of having the great Billy Hart here every day this week. But today, on the piano, we really have one of the greatest pianists and composers that's ever been involved in this music. So I'd like everyone to stand up, give him a standing ovation, and thank Mr. George Cables for coming here. All right, and let's hear some wonderful music.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to give you a standing ovation. I'm really glad to be here. I'm not going to talk much right now. I'm going to speak afterwards, but I just want to play some music for you. We're going to do our version of I Should Care. good, huh? You make it easy. So that was actually good. We're going to play a piece that I wrote. It's a story, but I don't think we have time for that. This is called Helen's Song. Thank you. Like I said, it was a good. That's Jamal Jennings. And Larry McKee. You know, my name is George Andrew, and his name is Andrew George. So like we're mirror images of each other. We're going to play 3 songs. Maybe let's sneak in the 4th one. This is a Fate Thelonious Monk piece. This is called Melodious Funk. Thank you. All you guys know that was around midnight. pieces were a reference to Thelonious Monk, because for me that's somebody I got to see as a big influence on me. Now, you may have noticed that when it comes to playing Thelonious Monk, I don't feel bound to try to sound like Thelonious Monk. And that's an important thing, and an important point I'd like to make out of it. This music that we play has room for everybody. It's a living music, and it makes room and allows you, and sometimes demands that you be yourself, and making the piece that you play your own. Put your stamp on it, put your personality, put your personal stamp on what you play. This music is very personal. Music is very personal, but this music especially, every time we play, it's a little bit different. Even if we have an arrangement, it's going to change. So, just wanted to say that right now for you.
George, can I ask you questions?
Yes. Not too personal.
You want to chill right there, or you want to hear? What do you think?
Yeah.
You can chill right here? Right
Yeah,
here?
that's good. I'm comfortable. I got my pillow.
Chilling, all right. First of all, you know, this is George Cables. I want you all to be able to ask questions, but George, I just want to ask you, a lot of people come to New York to play music, but you were born in New York. So can you kind of give the students like your journey, like in the way your parents like helped incubate your dream of playing piano, and maybe some folks you might have seen coming up, playing live?
Yeah. Well, I was born in New York. I was born in Brooklyn, New York. In Brooklyn. I know where New Jersey. But here in my home, we didn't have a lot of jazz. I mean, I got to listen to pop stations or baseball. But when it came to music, I was studying classical music, and it wasn't until later that I got introduced to this music. And I think I tried to make this point in one of the classes, is that it wasn't until later in high school. I mean, my friends, when I was a kid, my father was playing, he was playing. Louis Armstrong playing. Well, we knew everybody knew about Louis Armstrong, but and everybody was playing Duke Ellington or playing Dexter Gordon in the house. That was not happening in my house. So I went to high school. I went to high school, it's now the LaGuardia School, but then it was called the High School of Performing Arts. It was very small, with 650 students in the whole school, in Midtown Manhattan, in the theater district on 46th Street. And there somebody turned me on, and I'll say this then, I heard Charlie Parker on the record player, man. What is that? It's scratchy, I hate to admit it to myself, but because it's so foreign to me then, but now it's part of my DNA to hear this music. But I was exposed to the music then. But being in New York, I could, I had friends that turned me on to Thelonious Monk, especially Thelonious Monk's Town Hall concert. Art Blakey's drum suite, and Dave Brubet's Tape 5. Those were the three that I kind of heard when I was in high school. And I had friends that told me about, exposed me to how to improvise, what this music was about. My parents were great because, they allowed me to practice what I wanted to. My father passed away before I really started to get into things. to 6 a.m. in the morning. My mother was upstairs and she was a teacher, so she had to get up and go to school and teach. And I was down there messing with the piano. But she allowed me that space in order to do that. And later on, used the basement to jam, to have my friends come over and play. So I had people who knew better than me. I met more people in my basement. I can tell you Billy Hart was in my basement. Dave Liebman was in my basement. Steve Grossman was in my basement. Billy Carver, Lenny White, Clint Houston, you name them. They were all, Benny Marvin. Guys all came, through my basement. I even have a song on one of my CDs called SFCB, which means straight from Cable's basement. But that was what, the encouragement was great. It wasn't like, okay, we're exposing you to this music, but it was allowing me to find myself and find the music that I liked, the music that inspired me and allowed me to grow. So that's what was the big deal. And also, being in New York, being able to see, then the legal age was 18. That is, you could go to a nightclub and you were allowed to buy alcohol in New York City. But that changed. So now it's 21. But then I could go see Thelonious Monk. I could see him. Now you can see him on YouTube. You could see all these people on YouTube, hear their music, watch them. But to see them live and see them making music at the time was something that I can't just really tell you that experience. That's an experience you have to have for yourself. To see John Coltrane's band play, when I was 20, in Berlin. To see Charlie Mingus' band with Eric Dolphy and Jackie Byer. Jackie Byer. If he didn't discourage you, he would inspire you, because not only did he play the whole history of the piano, and when he got through with that, he'd reach into the piano bench and pull out an alto and play that. It was, gee, what do I have to do? Rashawn Roland Kirk, or see Bean Coleman Hawkins coming with his beard, or Pee Wee Russell, or any number of people. Or I remember being there with, I can remember just having a senior moment, being in the fire spot with my friend who knew much more about jazz than I. And some guy came in, and he was a guy who was kind of, not ratty, but he was kind of loose. He had this suit on. He picked up the bass and started playing. It sounded great. And I was saying to myself, gee, everybody around here plays music. But that was, he said, no, man, that's Wilbur Ware. So, you may see people pass through there or go into Slugs and I remember seeing Chick Corea when it first sounded like Horace Silver, and it sounded like Wynton Kelly, and he sounded like Herbie, and he sounded like McCoy, all progressive. And then you could hear Chick, and it was really distinctive. You heard that coming all the time, but you heard their growth. That was amazing to hear that, and to hear him playing with Roy Haynes. I can tell you, I just want to say this one experience. I don't know if you can relate to this, but you could stay at 4 o'clock with the closing time. And usually I was there, but there was a night that I won't ever forget that Roy Haynes, well, it was 2 weeks. Roy Haynes had bands at Slugs. The first week was Chick Corea, Scotty Holt played bass, and Joe Henderson played saxophone. The next week was Wayne Shorter, Ron Carter, and Corey Tyne. And the first week, I went both weeks, but there was a night I went to see Chick. It's the only time I had to leave early. Because Chick was just becoming Chick, and there was so much music, and Chick and Boy had a hookup. That was amazing. So that was the only time I ever had to leave a place early, because I was just full. I just couldn't, the jack couldn't just digest anymore. I would have forgotten what I heard. It made everything meaningless. But there was so much music happening in those days, and that place, and that particular night, that I said, I gotta go. I've gotta think about what I heard. I couldn't remember every note, but the music was so powerful when you're hearing guys develop like that, and when you hear McCoy Tyner play. It seems like I hear him play at the Keystone Club. It's not in New York, but it seemed like he'd make the piano levitate because the energy was so great. Those experiences that you know, when you go to hear people that you love, or that who play the music that you love, you'll feel some incredible things that you won't forget. And that's what it was like being in that. That's what it's like being in it.
So, George, I'll open it up for the students, but before, I'll just say that George is on over 300 records, probably 4. I did some research. And he's recorded as a leader about 50 records, close to. And he's still recording records. I'm proof for that.
That's right. Where's the CD coming out, and he's on it.
I appreciate those experience, George. Thank you. But y'all let that sink in. And if you look at the first people George Cables has played with, he spans the entire history of this music once or twice removed. If you think about that. And both coasts. So do y'all have any questions?
I see. Wait a minute. I saw this hand first, didn't you?
So that's so many
One question.
like you first talked about how you had all these guys in the basement, and I hear this that happens in some musicians that it's like plans. But for some people who are growing up, they get into plans and none of them to where you are. So what do you think? How do you think that happens? Just how long? And then also, I was just interested because you're like Mr. Chuck said, how you're an innovator of the music. You play with all these people. How do you think jazz is progressing? Do you think that it's still? In what ways do you see it changing? Yeah.
Okay, what was the first
One
question?
question. Pick one question. What question would you like Mr. Cables to answer? One question.
I'll take the easy one, the hard one, the last one that I really heard. The first one I didn't hear everything you said. But how do I think jazz is changing? I think a lot of the people who made the music aren't here right now. So people are hearing stuff that maybe on YouTube or in other places, Spotify, wherever, that like it's a little removed from it. So I hear some of the things changing. Like I hear the drums really change a lot sometimes. I hear a lot of snare drum stuff and a lot of straight 8 stuff that's changing. But I hear a lot of people going back and discovering music, discovering older players and finding their own voice and using that music to find their own voice. I see music, I can't predict the future. I don't know where it's going. Nobody knows. But one thing I can say is that be careful that you don't let the industry dictate where you're going. You know, this is what everybody likes. This has so many likes, like on Facebook. There's so many likes. You know, let that influence you. I mean, be aware of how you communicate with people, but let the music. Don't take the music back from the industry. Because a lot of times our industry, I mean, we love music. Music is a beautiful thing. The music business can be very difficult. So try and be yourself. I listen to guys like Emmanuel Wilkins, who I really like. He's very creative. And to Joel Ross. And to, I mentioned somebody, Carolyn Davis, to Nicole Glover, to Blake, to Jonathan Blake, to his bands. And I think I hear a lot of freedom because they've listened to played with guys like Jonathan with Kenny Barron. There's the history book right there. But I also hear like influences like my friend Donald Harrison has a thing called the Omniverse, that he talks about all kinds of music, all kinds of influences, hip hop especially, being a strong influence on jazz, and he doesn't want hip hop people to be dished, to be forgotten and dismissed. So he's trying to be inclusive of all those things. So I think that from what I hear, a young man who passed away way too soon, Casey Benjamin, who was a player, was very inclusive. I see these days, I see a lot of inclusiveness. Samara Joy was just here, and she reminds me of, you know, I listen to her, she's not Sarah Vaughan, but she seems to be influenced by her, and it takes you back to that. There's a lot of history of the music coming back. And Jasmine Horn, who is strongly influenced by Betty Carter. I think that there is, I'm kind of talking my way into this thing, but I think that jazz these days has a lot of influences, and I think it's in pretty good shape because all you guys are here. And I do different camps. I did Stanford earlier this month or late last month. Did Port Townsend. And I see young people interested in this music and getting excited about it. And not just excited about playing, about having just hanging and playing, but about the possibilities of making music, and come and you bring the music that you grew up with, that you're into, and you bring all kinds of influences. That's the thing about this music, about jazz, is it's open to all kinds of influences. When I go to Spain, I hear flamenco influences in this music. Wherever you go, you hear music from different cultures. So I think the music is in great shape because it's been sort of ecumenical, open to a lot of different influences.
Man, George, you stay in it. I go over your crib and you're listening to like new stuff, like younger cats. I love that. Yeah. It's amazing. You stay attuned to what's going on, and that's.
I played with a lot of the older guys. So.
Man. Well, y'all, that was all we had time for. So please give it up for George Taylor.
Come on, folks, we can do better than that. This is the great Joe Faber.
Thank you, guys.
For his contributions to the music.
Thank you. Thank you for doing what you're doing. Thank you.
Julie, it's part of our mission that we know that people like yourself know that there are young people that love and appreciate what you've put in this world. And so it's part of our mission to show thank you to you for all you've given. So thank you for being here with us today. Thank you for your music, and thank you for all of your words of inspiration and wisdom that you shared with us today. So thank you so much. All right, folks. I'm going to structure everyone know where they will be for the concert this afternoon. We got to get on stage tonight for all of my Thursday night combo performances. But I'm not going to go over that now. We need to make the most of our large ensemble rehearsal today. So let's go swiftly to large ensemble and get this done. Thank you.